All right, hello everybody. Tom Novak here. It is Monday, July 28th. What a busy summer we've had here in the upper Midwest, including Minnesota, western Wisconsin, northern Iowa, and that is going to continue at least for the next 12 to 24 hours as what looks to be probably our best severe weather setup of the summer is unfolding here over southern Minnesota, eastern South Dakota, northern Iowa, and portions of western Wisconsin. But I'm really most concerned about the areas from the I-94 corridor in Minnesota on south and west into eastern South Dakota, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and extreme southwestern Wisconsin. We're going to get into that here. And just a little bit. All right, this video is brought to you by a new an important weather sponsor. It's Heartland Roofing and Siding. Thank you, Chad, and your team there at Heartland Roofing and Siding. Adam, your crew, appreciate it. I know you guys believe in Novak Weather, and what a great day, what a great evening to sponsor Novak Weather, because we've got a lot of severe weather on the way it appears. So if you have any issues with the exteriors of your buildings, you give the crew there at Heartland a call. Okay, here we go. This is the infrared satellite loop, and we're focusing in on what's happening up here in southern North Dakota. These are thunderstorms that are losing a little bit of a punch. Usually around noon is when the most stable time of the day occurs in the upper Midwest, and that seems to be the case here as these storms are losing their punch, but they still are producing some interesting weather over North Dakota. This is the radar out of Bismarck, and here are these storms. They don't look too bad now, but I think and I believe the worry is that more storms are going to develop right here in northeastern South Dakota, extreme southeastern North Dakota, and west central Minnesota. And then as those storms develop, they're going to move east and southeast, kind of similar to yesterday. And they will produce a large area of severe weather, probably right in this area as we go into the evening and early morning hours tonight and into tomorrow morning. That is why I have a good chunk of eastern South Dakota, almost the whole southern half of Minnesota, and then a large chunk of northern Iowa in a pretty decent area for severe weather here as we go through from about 4 p.m. through about 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. These are the areas for the Twin Cities, Mankato, Rochester, Eau Claire. If and when we do get severe weather, it would probably be in that 8 p.m. to midnight time frame. That's when I would expect it in southern Minnesota, at least most of southern Minnesota, as we get a strong low-level jet and fuel being pumped north into a frontal boundary that is situated right near the Twin Cities or near the I-94 corridor, and it's in that warm, moist, and volatile environment just south of that warm front, which is where severe weather likes to develop, near and just south of that warm front. And I think that's going to be the case here as we go through the next 12 hours at least, if not longer. Again, here's that instability, that high level of instability now over eastern Nebraska, eastern South Dakota, and Iowa. And as that surges northeast into that front, we have a gradient. And there's, you can clearly see the instability gradient right across southern Minnesota, then extending southeast into northern Iowa. That's why that area would be of the greatest concern here over the next 12 hours. As a low pressure moves east, we get turning winds in the atmosphere, and that instability gradient are a lot of fantastic factors to creating severe weather, along with strong winds aloft. There's that jet streak just north of us. So you combine all that and you get the potential for severe weather. Visible satellite imagery showing those storms over North Dakota. And what it also shows, and I'm gonna stop it here and rewind it a couple frames here. It also shows kind of where that instability gradient is. I'm gonna put this back into motion again here. We'll load it up and put it into motion, and you can kind of see where that instability gradient has developed now. It's right here with the cloud patterns, and I would expect storms to fire once again over extreme southern North Dakota, eastern South Dakota, right about in this area here over the next 6 hours. That's where those storms are going to reform and redevelop, and then they will move in this direction along that instability gradient across southern Minnesota and northern Iowa. But a real nice looking satellite imagery. And look at these clear skies down here. Mostly sunny skies are really cranking up the heat in eastern South Dakota, Iowa, southwestern Minnesota. It is oppressive. The heat is oppressive in this section of our region, and that is another reason why we're going to have energy and fuel for these thunderstorms. The 500 millibar winds at about 20 to 25,000 feet. Look how strong they are. Take a look at what's going on up here in North Dakota as we speak. That's the reason why they've got those thunderstorms that are ongoing up in North Dakota, is because of strong winds up at 20 to 25,000 feet. And look at what happens to these winds as we go through time. By about 8 or 9 p.m. this evening, real strong winds in the atmosphere are going to be approaching the Twin Cities, Mankato, and then the Rochester areas. And this is what helps in creating some spin in the atmosphere. And shear in the atmosphere is when winds increase with intensity as you go up in the atmosphere. And that will be happening here over southern Minnesota, northern Iowa as we go through the evening and overnight hours. This is at about midnight now. You can see real strong winds now over southeastern Minnesota. So I would expect if a derecho does form, it would form over west central Minnesota and then move right in this direction here through the evening and overnight hours with those strong winds. And as we drill down in the atmosphere a little bit and we go down to about 5 to 10,000 feet and we put this into motion, I want you to look at the southerly low-level jet. You can see it right here pumping up north into eastern South Dakota. That's why this would be another area, or the area for initiation of that derecho or MCS complex in eastern South Dakota. And look at how these low-level winds continue to feed into this frontal boundary here over southern Minnesota as we go through the late evening and overnight hours. Just a real impressive atmospheric setup, at least as far as the winds are concerned, for severe weather. And we have that energy. You saw this map just a little bit ago, but here it is again. This is instability right here over southwestern Minnesota. And here's the instability axis across southern Minnesota. And that's the reason why we expect storms to trend in this type of a direction or in movement as we go through the evening hours tonight. And this is at about 7 p.m. by the way, this map. And then the supercell composite is impressive over southwestern Minnesota, hence the reason why we are really concerned about this area here for severe weather over the next 12 hours as the supercell composite it attempts to move northeast with this energy. It's going to create a real volatile atmosphere over southern Minnesota and and over northern Iowa. Here's your future satellite, and it's from the NAM 3K guidance and showing those Dakota storms perfectly right now. And this is, here it is as of 1 p.m. now. You can see kind of the genesis now of some more thunderstorm activity over extreme southern North Dakota early this coming afternoon here. Right about now actually is when it's expecting these storms to develop. And then look at how they explode over northeastern South Dakota, west central Minnesota, and right, I would probably say this is a timestamp 04 Zula around 10 p.m. this evening. Somewhere between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. tonight is when we'll likely be at the height of the storm here, as these as this system, this mesoconvective system, or perhaps derecho, moves east and southeast across southern Minnesota. Even as we get into about 3-4 in the morning, it still is showing some lingering storms over southeastern Minnesota. So it's going to be a long evening and overnight in southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and southwestern Wisconsin. Future radar, might as well show you this. You know, I like to tell you to take future radar with a grain of salt, but it does show you, it gives you a decent blueprint of what may happen. Focus your attention here on northeastern South Dakota. Here is the future radar as of about 5 or 6 p.m. this evening. These storms are really going to start cranking at about that time this evening, and then look at how they again explode and create a squall line and or derecho across southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and then into extreme southwestern Wisconsin. I think by about 4 or 5 in the morning they will have cleared all of Minnesota, but by then the damage will have been done. I'll rewind this again for you just so you can see how these storms will evolve. Here's about 6, 7 p.m., 8, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., midnight, and then now 3 in the morning. So that's how it's looking right now as far as the timing is concerned of these storms. And this doesn't happen very often, especially up here in the upper Midwest, but a moderate risk for severe weather. That's almost as high as it gets from the Storm Prediction Center for southern Minnesota, eastern South Dakota, and the northern half of Iowa over the next 12 to 16 hours. So everybody pretty much in the forecasting business is agreeing that this is going to be a event that we need to pay very special attention to and closely monitor as we go through the evening and overnight hours. All right, I will have likely a live video update this evening as these storms progress. Until then, keep an eye to the sky and be careful out there.